Hi, I am your host, Henry Clavo, CEO and founder of Orlando Insight Group. Each episode, we dive deep into real conversations with technology leaders, innovators, and experts who are shaping the future of IT data and cybersecurity, and with thought leaders. Our goal is simple to give you practical insights, real world strategies, and expert perspective that you can use to drive smart decisions and strong results for your business. Today, I am excited to introduce Jillian Olson. Jillian is the director of the Young Professionals Program in Washington Policy Center. Before stepping into this role in 2024, she ran her own political consulting firm, helping um, helping free market candidates win highly competitive races. She understands strategy, messaging, and what it takes to move people toward action. But her story doesn't start in politics. Before transitioning fully into policy space, Jillian built and operated a successful business consulting and photography company in Texas. That entrepreneurial foundation gives her a unique perspective, and she knows what it means to build from scratch, to serve clients and create value and take ownership of outcomes. Today, she brings a blend of entrepreneurial grit and political strategy, developing the next generation of leaders through the Young Professionals Program, mentoring, connecting, and equipping young professionals to engage thoughtfully in public policy and civic life. In this conversation, we'll talk about leadership development, entrepreneurship, political strategy, and what it really means to prepare young professionals to make an impact. Jillian, welcome.
Thank you so much, Henry, and thank you for this opportunity. I am so excited to be on your show. It's just really grateful that you opened the door for me.
Yeah, definitely. Following I guess, the Washington Policy Center's YouTube channel, just wanted to learn more about this program. That's why I reached out, and this is a great opportunity. I guess we could get started. As director of the Young Professionals Program in Washington Policy Center, how do you define your core mission?
Our core mission is definitely to educate and empower the next generation with the amazing data and understanding of policy provided by the Policy Center itself. I know too many young people, they're busy, they are focused on their early careers. Many of them are focused on their families. They have young families as they're approaching their 30s, and it's difficult to actually stay engaged. So our mission is to help it be very accessible, the knowledge to policy, because it does touch everything. Policies touch every part of our life. They're why groceries are expensive or cheap. They're why gas is about $1 more expensive here per gallon in Washington state as opposed to our neighboring state, Idaho. So it's to really give them access to that education. And then with our community, we actually help them activate in it. We have state representatives, we have local elected officials who attend our events that they have direct access to. And then we also help them get connected to other community leaders in the area so they can better understand the landscape. And for me, I personally experienced the power of this program back in 2022. I had been living here for about 5 years, and being a native Texan, had really understood what policies and politics looked like in the state of Texas, but really didn't have an understanding of the difference of Washington state, which is the beauty of our country, right? Each
Mm,
state is very diverse and different. But what was interesting for me was that I didn't understand the different types of policies that they have here. And I was able to go to the Washington Policy Center website and really dive in and understand the political and policy landscape and how I could better advocate and educate myself.
And Jillian, what brought you to Washington? I know moving from Texas to Washington is a very big transition. No sun.
No, yeah, so that was difficult for me because there is no sun for me. Summers here in Spokane, which is where I'm based out of, are definitely sunnier, and even the winters here are not as quite as gloomy as the Seattle area. But I did fall in love with Washington State. I love this state. I love this community. The people here are some of the best people I've ever met, and so this has really become home. What brought me up here, unfortunately, was my ex-husband, and we went through a divorce recently,
Mm,
and it was the military base out here. But coming up here in 2016, 2017 is when I officially kind of moved. I really just loved the character of Washington State. I
Mm,
love the pioneering, free and innovative spirit that you guys have here, and it really became home very quickly. And then
mm.
in 2020, I started to get even more engaged in community matters and started to look at nonprofits as well as different policy leaders to help better understand where Washington State was going and how it affects our state, the policy people that are in charge.
Yeah, definitely. Since moving here, there has been many changes in a short amount of time. But I guess going back to the program, when someone joins this program, what transformations are you hoping to create for them, especially now with uh, the current session ramming a lot of bills, a lot of misleading titles? I guess with this program, I guess you're giving them a voice.
That really is how I view it. We're giving them a voice, and we are so data-based. We're nonpartisan, nonprofit, data-based. So really anyone can come to our site and see our research laid out so we can stand behind it. So we want to give our young professionals easy access because again, they're busy, right? They're building their careers, they're running their lives. And it's difficult sometimes to weed through the legalese that's written into all these bills. So we are putting out the YouTube channel, which you talked about. We also have videos being pushed out on multiple different social media sites, quick hits. The young professionals, myself, and our project's lead, Valerie Lucas, we're
Mm,
putting out policy quick hits, as well as highlighting some of the leaders in our young professionals who are very knowledgeable on the issues. So we're taking those conversations and also putting that out to our young people. What I love is it really does give you back a voice because you have now data to go talk to your friends. It's not hostile the way some of the political environments we are seeing both nationally and even in the state. It's
mm,
positive civil engagement and civil conversation. And you're able to take this to your friends and say, this is what it's going to do. Like, take the income tax, for instance. They're calling it the millionaire's income tax, but really, our state constitution is clear that there's not to be an income tax. And what we've seen primarily in the past and historically is once they pass a tax like that, it's only a matter of time before they come and put it on to the middle class, to the lower incomes, and that tax just trickles down. We also have to think about the fact that these business owners are the millionaires, and so that cost is going to get passed on to the consumer. So cost of
mm,
goods are going to go up. So it's helping them understand that because speaking very honestly, when I first moved here, I didn't understand that. I didn't fully even understand what it meant to have a free market system until I stumbled upon the Policy Center. I was blessed with my family, who my dad got us looking at the Hillsdale College courses, but it was really the Policy Center that helped me really distinctly understand why free markets are so important and what they look like. And I finally felt like I had my voice again. So we're fostering that same level of environment by building on our community and educating our community and allowing them to also find a place to go out and be active, but from a non hostile place,
mm.
because we are in a very interesting dynamic at times, but we have found a way for people from all backgrounds to come together in our community and to share civil discourse, even if they don't agree. There's not the animosity we're seeing played out. There's intelligent conversation taking place based on the education we're providing. And that is really humbling and honoring. Valerie and I just absolutely love every single one of our members and want to see them thrive.
No, it's good that you have that environment. Without it, I guess, where do they turn to? Where do they get the information? This whole network of a lot of information, but some of it misleading. So it's good that you have a program dedicated to well researched, well intentioned values. So that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
How do you measure success in your role and attendance and engagement and career advancement and civic impact, Jillian?
So it can be a little hard to measure because it's hard to It's hard to explain sometimes all the nuances of our program because we are seeing our young people thriving. One of our advisory board members, because of the confidence she had in serving on our advisory board in an official position and the outreach that she does and the hosting and moving forward, ended up getting an assistant manager job, like
Mm,
pay raise and kind of career change that was really awesome for her. You know, she's only 21, and this is the first time this position has ever opened up to someone in her age. It's normally like higher level senior management kind of get that position. So that was very rewarding, and it was because of the community that we're fostering. So some of the engagement and success that we measure is just that organic community building. I'm seeing some of my people that were more introverted stepping out and actually speaking up on policy because they feel confident and educated to speak on these matters that they care about. So those are some of the measures of success. The other more hardline measures that we have is event attendance is up by 50%.
mm,
So we're seeing people actually coming into our community. We grew by 200% last year alone. So that was a huge measure of success because we are a membership based program. We were able to kind of track our members who either renewed. We had higher renewal rates than we've ever had. We also had new members joining, and our advisory board grew from probably, I think it was about 8 to 10 people. We grew to a board of 22 because
mm.
people were wanting to engage. And so that was really rewarding. And those are like our harder line measures of success. But then the other piece that I would say is that I have actively seen our young professionals going and commenting on bills. And we'll see them pushing it out on their social medias. We'll see their name popping up in testimonies. We had two of our young professional members actually drive from Spokane to Olympia to go testify in person on a bill. I will
Mm.
say the remote testifying has also been very helpful for our community because young people will then be able to find time to hop online during a lunch break and testify on these bills. So those are other very high level measures of success. And then I'm also seeing my young professionals starting to work in nonprofits and actually be building on community and attending city council meetings, as well
Mm.
as looking for legislative assistant positions so they can be engaging directly with policy. So those are many of the ways we're seeing like the activity and then being activated in the community, not just taking the education and keeping it for themselves. So we've really, really seen that change in the last year. We have a very active young professionals community, and they are some of the best networkers that I've seen too. So they're also looking to connect each other to different policy leaders, community leaders, people that can affect these policy decisions.
Wow. Yeah, I did not know that, especially since I guess you just started recently with the social media discussing the program and being able to document that success. So, uh, thank you for sharing that. Uh, what barriers do you believe limit innovation and upward mobility today, especially in Seattle or in
Yeah,
the state?
overregulation. It's why we are a free market think tank. Overregulation of every industry, of every business, of every function. I look at, even we have a housing crisis here in Washington state. You know, people are wanting to buy houses. Our young people are wanting to have that American dream of having a home, having a family, you know, safe neighborhood, good environment. I myself am looking to purchase a home, and just looking at the cost of homes, it's going to be a while before I feel comfortable
Mm,
affording that. So what I would say is there's so much red tape and overregulation of all of these different industries. We're seeing it with the income tax, right? They're
right.
now going to push that. That was a driving factor of why a lot of people wanted to move here, or a lot of people wanted to work in Washington state, which also provides tax revenue based on their shopping experiences, where they're going, the businesses that are staying. So when we look at that snowball effect, I would say the biggest barrier is many of those elected on all sides are not listening to the needs of the people. And we need to better educate ourselves and also vocalize why we're so frustrated with this red tape. But it does
Mm.
take education on knowing why these red tape matters are getting pushed through. We see permits taking so long to get builds done. We see the fact that they are looking to, the natural gas issue that we just experienced. There's just
Right.
so many things of overregulation that mostly what you'll hear me say is we need less. We need more limited government. We need less laws. We need laws to be followed that are on the books. So some of those barriers could just be released and we could see an influx of innovation and business entrepreneurship grow. We would
Mm.
actually see our economy start to really turn around.
No, I agree, especially with rising property taxes.
Hmm.
And what I've seen here since moving here recently, there's been a lot of construction on rental units. I think that's been more of a push towards that. I don't know if that is the direction they're going currently, but yeah, if they pass that income tax in the current state of the property and capital gains, especially,
Hmm.
it makes no sense to invest here anymore, does it?
No. And I think some of these policies are passed, maybe well intentioned, but the consequences are dire. I think they don't look at what is the consequence of this law, of this measure that we're passing. And government is meant to actually operate at a slower pace to be able to go through those checks and balances and to say, what are the pros of this if we pass it? What are the cons? Go to the industry experts and actually ask them, how is this going to affect your bottom line? And if it is going to affect your bottom line, how are you going to pass this on to the consumer? And we're seeing a lot of rentals come up, but people who actually own property and own a home have really truly an invested interest in the success of their community. I myself am renting right now. And while I want to be very respectful of my apartment complex's property and structure, I'm thinking about everything a little bit differently. I'm looking at my monthly rental income. I'm not looking at the taxes that are coming across, the property taxes that it's costing me. It's built into that block that I'm paying monthly instead of me actually actively seeing the transparency of the property cost that the landlord is having to take on. So it helps you better understand the economic system, home ownership. And so taking away that opportunity also takes away that level of education and understanding where our taxes are actually going. And property taxes primarily fund our schools. And so we're also seeing a failure in education happening in Washington state as well, even though our property taxes are going up. So whether you have children or not, you're investing into an education system that you need to pay very close attention to. And I'll pivot into, we have an amazing education center director, Vicki Murray,
Hmm.
who can talk far more intelligently on this topic than I can. And I would highly recommend every young person having kids, planning to have kids, never wanting kids, actually paying attention, because that's where a lot of our taxes are going, is into the school system. So whether you want to put your children in that system or not, or aren't planning to, you are paying into that. And so it's very important to watch for those taxes going into that.
Amazing, amazing. Um, why is mentorship so critical at the 18 to 39 stage of someone's life?
So, may I ask you, have you ever had a mentor, Henry?
Yes, a very long time ago, a kindergarten teacher called Mr. Quellis. He was hard on me. I didn't know why at the time, and now I know he really cared. So yeah,
Hmm. And it shaped you, right? It kind of shaped your whole future.
yeah. Be responsible. Be a decent human being. Be respectful, basically.
Yeah. So, I think right there, that's really, you summed it up so beautifully, that's what mentorship is. I am a product of mentorship. I have sought mentors since I was fairly young. Kind of organically got one because my parents put me into karate, and so Master Lee was a huge influence on my life. I got put to Taekwondo at the age of 5, And I just remember him teaching me that, the level of respect. He was hard on me, but he taught me how to be respectful. He taught me to sit still, and listen to people and respect adults and elders and how to conduct myself. We also had the code of conduct that we would have to recite and actually emulate. So that's kind of where my mentorship journey started. But when you hear of anyone that has high levels of success, they're always seeking someone more advanced than them. They never want to be the most intelligent person in the room. Normally, when you hear successful business people, if you guys read books on success, you'll typically hear them say, if you're the smartest person in the room, you need a different room. And that's why mentorship, especially in this forming time period between 18 and 39, 18, you're really starting into your life. Most people are going off to college, but even how you handle college can actually be mentored. So, what our program does, because we have a mentorship program in the young professionals, is we work one on one with you to personally connect you to someone that you want to learn from. We have anything from soft skills to policy leaders. We had someone recently say that they wanted to learn how to network better. They didn't feel like their small talk was very good. We have a fabulous mentor whose name is Aaron, who is so charismatic and can connect with someone so easily. It was an automatic fit. And they meet monthly. They talk on the phone probably once a week. And I have noticed this young man's networking skills just improve through the roof. So mentorship is something that I would encourage, whether it's through our program or outside of it, because as you stated, it really shaped you. I know Master Lee shaped me at a very young age. And then when I hit into my early 20s, the reason I was able to pivot my photography company into more of a business consulting model was because of an older gentleman in his 80s mentoring me. He met with me and he said, I really like your personality. And he's like, I think you should apply for this business consulting contract and help this company. And I was like, I'm a photographer, mostly wedding and family portrait. And he's like, oh, that doesn't matter. And so he pushed me into this interview. I ended up getting the contract by telling him, you shouldn't really hire me. Like, I'm not qualified. But he mentored me for the next year and a half. And he's really where I learned so much of my skill set, how to troubleshoot, how to problem solve, how to critically think, how to go in and analyze a business and say what's failing, what's succeeding, which also led me into being able to run a successful political consulting because you do the same thing with a person. So that mentorship in my early 20s carried me into my mid 30s and has shaped the way that I view the world. So I've noticed it with so many of my young people. So really, really, I can't stress enough, seek a mentor. And the questions that I like to ask when I'm looking at a mentor is, one, do I like their faith journey? Two, do I like what their life looks like? Is this person divorced 4 times over, but they're highly successful? Do I like that balance? Is that something for me? Say you're someone who never wants to get married, you'd probably be like, well, I don't want the personal aspect, but I love the success in business. So asking some of those questions and then seeking out that mentor, you'd be surprised at how willing people are to take time to sow into the next generation. And it's such a powerful gift that a mentor can give. But as a mentee, you also have to ask, why would they want to mentor me? What kind of accountability do I need to bring to the table? What would be rewarding for them to see? Is it my success? What does that look like? So those are questions we actually ask in our mentorship program, but you can find a mentor for every aspect of your life. And I couldn't stress what a blessing it is to have that.
Yeah, have that guidance, not run blind in your journey. Yeah, and it does take two to tango. You have to find a match with your mentor, and you also have to change some parts of you or adapt to certain personalities to work with somebody. And I think that makes sense. And going back to your point of asking for help, it just remind me of a video of Steve Jobs who would just say, "You got to pick up the phone and just got to ask for help. If you don't ask, you'll never know." You know. So I really like that. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Because I mean, what's the worst they can say? No, and then you go, okay, I'll go look for someone else. So
Yeah, but I guess it's our survival instincts. Like, oh, if we don't get this, I'm gonna die, or something like
Hmm. Yep.
that. How do you cultivate conviction and critical thinking in young professionals?
I think the conviction, you'll hear this thread through many of my answers, comes from the community.
Hmm.
When you love something, you want to see it thrive. So we foster an environment of actually being community focused. And so what you'll notice is young professionals bond together. We have very different backgrounds of industry, walks of life in our group. And yet the common thread is we are young professionals, we are a community. So we have some gentlemen on the west side in particular that are all into tech. And then we have some other people come that are like kind of gritty, more like agriculture based, that attend as well. And yet you'll see these people that normally never would cross paths actually genuinely connecting and caring about each other. I think an example of why that community is important, that fosters that conviction, is at our holiday party. We had a young man's car just have some really bad troubles. And it was when the terrible storms were taking place over on the west side of the state, that cold rain and floods. And we had another new young member standing around in the rain, helping him fix his car for over 30 minutes, right?
Hmm.
These two people that just met that night, and they both were probably, I think, 19 and 20 years old,
Hmm.
standing around in the freezing rain. We finally were able to get his car going and fixed. And later I called the other young man that stood there for so long. And I was like, I just really wanted to say thank you. It was really impressive. You just stayed there. And he sounded confused on the phone. He was like, well, that's what YPs do, right? And he was just new to the program.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, yes, that is what we do for each other. And he's like, well, that's the culture. YPs just help each other. We're young professionals. We help each other. And I was like, that's so cool. And so with that, I've seen a renewed conviction to help our state, to stay here, to plant our flag, because they have developed these friendships they don't want to leave. Family. I mean, that's what has kept me in Washington State, is my friendships, who have
Hmm.
become truly my family. So that's how we're fostering conviction. And once you this is what I'm discovering with my group, because I discovered it myself. Once you give them their agency back and an ability to understand why taxes are crushing us, why people are leaving the state, why we're in a deficit when we were in a surplus, it all of a sudden is like, I can help be a part of the solution. So it's that old adage, we're not giving them a fish, we're teaching them how to fish. That's really how we've been building conviction in our community.
You start small at the local level, and then you expand that little by little throughout the state. Yeah,
Hmm.
very smart and very good strategy.
Hmm.
Now, this next question. I guess it's for people who or need more information, but the YP program emphasizes free market principles. How do you explain that concept to someone unfamiliar with it?
So, one, I would first suggest going onto our site and reading some of the material, because that will help you understand what a free market looks like. But our entire nation was based on a free market system.
Hmm.
That sounds really vague. We mostly hear capitalism, right? We hear controlled economy, we hear communism, socialism, we hear these different terms, but capitalism primarily is the one that gets used the most. But what we really are is a free market system. That means that the market dictates. So we, the consumers, dictate what we want, what goods are sold, and what price we're willing to pay for them. We're currently experiencing a lot of, again, barriers, regulation on industries and what they can charge, how they can operate. And while some of those structures in place are good, they do protect us as individuals. It's just the overregulation of it. So, what a free market, a simple way that I was helped to understand it is, a free market is an exchange of goods and supply that I get to set and demand as a consumer. And so I get to go and choose, do I want to go to Henry's shop and pay $10 for a coffee, or do I want to go down the street to this other barista who I can get that cup of coffee for $4? You guys get to decide. Now, maybe I want to go to you because your coffee's organic white coffee and you have this special house-made sauce that you make. Well, obviously, if you're able to charge $10 and keep your doors open, then it's a free market. You're able to set that price based on the consumption and the demand of your product. Whereas maybe this other shop might sell $2 coffee, but it's a crappy cup of coffee and nobody wants to go there. So there's just that cost and demand. And the reason it's so important is because then innovation gets to take place and I get to compete with you. So I might analyze and go, well, why is my coffee that's $2 not selling, but his doors are open and he's charging $10 a coffee? So it forces me to innovate, to grow, and to produce a better product based on what I am seeing demanded in the marketplace. So not only is it better serving the individual, it actually friendly competition is a good thing, right? We've all experienced that in our lives. So what the free market does is create that friendly competition. It forces me to stay sharp. It forces me to stay better. And that has been really not explained in schools, unfortunately, which is why I'm so thankful for the Policy Center and other education resources. But the free market is just so vital to what our choices and our freedom to choose and not set this demand and produce products that are not in demand. I had a friend who is, I believe she's first generation American, but her family is from Vietnam. And she went back to go visit some relatives there. And she said, she said, I understood what a free market was conceptually, but I didn't understand what it meant until I went to Vietnam, and they have a huge marketplace, which is miles and miles and miles of booths in Vietnam. And she said, I walked down the line of booths and I forced myself to walk every line, and every line was selling the same product at a cost that the government demanded. There was no difference between any of the booths nor any of the cost. She said, how, and the sellers were desperate to sell their product, but they were forced to set their products at a certain rate. She said, and there was nothing to differentiate them. There was no friendly competition. There was no innovation. She said, it both controlled them and it controlled my choices. That's a controlled economy. And if we continue to not understand what it means to be free market, we will inevitably end up there. So that's how we kind of explain the free market principles. And many times once you get into our program, you organically start to really understand what that means based on who's coming.
Yeah, especially during our current climate, people are moving towards different ideas, different extreme uh, left or extreme right. So it's good to have that program, have that education, spread that information, what works, what hasn't worked in the past, and also have a knowledge of history that these types of ideas come from and why it doesn't work now today.
Yes.
How do you balance education with action in the program? What does policy plus action look like in practice?
So we primarily, because we're a nonprofit, we personally don't do any like lobbying, or very minimal, I should say. But what we try and focus on is really educating, and then in our program, we just give you the tools to know where to go. We get you connected to the policy leaders. We have electeds come. Yesterday, we actually had the sheriff come and speak to a group of our young professionals in this area. And it's just to give them information and to get access to him. We had two of our young people actually ask a really difficult question of him. It
Mhm.
gives them the opportunity to get face to face with the sheriff and to ask some difficult questions, to which he actually explained his stance in a very great way. And it actually helped enlighten and inform them on what that policy had done and what it looked like. So that's a way for us to help create an action behind it, is by connecting them to those community and elected leaders. And then we also just encourage them to educate themselves and to remember that the people that are in place and making these decisions are put there by us, we the
Mm.
people. So we need to educate ourselves and inform ourselves, because sometimes the individuals that are in office need to hear from us, not sometimes, all the time, actually, because they represent us. And we can go to them and say, hey, I didn't like how you voted, or I really appreciated how you voted. We just need to have more dialogue. And so that's how we're kind of seeing some policy in action. Again, going to our mentorship program, we have a state representative who is one of our mentors. Well, we had a mentee say, I want to better understand the landscape of policy. And so we connected him, and he now has her as a mentor,
Mhm.
which again, that is creating action in him because he's better understanding the issues, and he now knows what to do with that knowledge. So that's kind of how we have been working to create that action. And then obviously with our wonderful Paul Guppy and Todd Myers and Dave Bowes for the digital content,
Mhm.
there's definite ways that we've been pushing action too. We had the income tax. We've been pushing that out so people know what it actually says and what it means. So people have been sharing that on their social media and educating the better populace. And I just want to say that I I cannot stress enough how I actually was so engaged in policy in Texas. My family is incredibly policy educated and very involved in Texas, but it was fascinating to me how much I didn't know in Washington state, because it is a different state. It operates so differently. And so I don't want anyone to ever feel like that when I keep saying education, like you're uneducated. I was very educated, but I didn't understand all the nuances. And so the policy center actually really helps that, which has also helped me want to be more active and take action.
Yeah, especially new people to the state. If someone listening wants to get more engaged but doesn't know where to start, like where can they direct their energy and their passions, what will you tell them?
Well, I would say that, like in any industry, once you start to pull that thread, the whole ball of yarn comes unraveled.
Hmm.
So the policy center is a really great place to start at one of their events.
Hmm.
They hold monthly events. They're typically run through the Young Professionals program, but people of all ages are welcome to come. We just are trying to help foster a generation, like the future generation. But going to a monthly event of the Young Professionals is probably where I would actually suggest starting. That's kind of how I really started to get my toes in the water.
Hmm.
And I was able to start meeting people in a very friendly environment. The other opportunity that I would probably stress would be go to a local chamber. So most cities have a chamber of commerce. Go there. They typically have a government affairs individual in their office, and go and talk to them and ask them when their government affairs meeting is, and just get better connected in the community. A lot of policies are pushed through the chamber. They represent businesses.
Hmm.
So many of their events will also have local elected officials at their just different events that take place through the year. So I would definitely encourage them. That's a great place to learn. Take it in bite sized chunks. No question is a stupid question. I still ask questions to this day. I had someone the other day say, well, you're in policy. You must be an expert on this. I was like, I have no idea. I was like, nope, no clue. I'm a farm kid by birth. I was born and raised on a farm. But the ag here is very, very different. I grew up on a pecan farm, so longevity farming, we were fostering trees. Here are cyclical farmland, right? We have wheat crops. And so it's just a very different farming. So just because I have a ag background, I have really no understanding of what it really means to be a wheat farmer. So there's just no stupid questions. So go attend, ask questions, get a contact and sit down over a cup of coffee. I'll actually say too, you'll be surprised if you really want to get in touch with policy leaders. You'll be surprised at how many of them are actually very accessible and actually really want you to meet with them and to attend their town halls and to have that conversation and give them that feedback. You'll be very surprised. I know so many local city council members who desperately want to have coffees with their community because they want to make sure they're representing right.
It's amazing. Wow. Wow. Well, to wrap up, Jillian, since you're the director, what do you foresee in the next 5 years of your program? What is success for you? And what do you plan to accomplish?
Oh, so that's exciting because we've been planning our 5 year plan, Valerie and I. And I will just give a huge shout out to her. She is truly such a machine, and we are a team in tandem. We do everything together. And I am so blessed to have her as my coworker because we are able to really complement each other on our strengths. So many of the emails that you're going to be getting and seeing if you join our program are from her, and she just is a busy worker bee, and we just believe in this state in this program. So our 5 year plan is to really have pillars in the east, central east and central west part of our state. So
Mhm.
we're starting that this year. Our primary pillars of our events and our programming are kind of taking place on the eastern side of the state and the western, so kind of the
Mhm.
Spokane region to Pullman, and then on the western side, the Bellevue Seattle kind of belt. So that's like where our main events and hubs are happening. We started the digital content this year so we can start to foster that statewide approach because we are a statewide program. And then come June, we're going to be in the Tri Cities area to start to pillar another stronghold there to be able to create the same environment we're getting to see on the East and West. So, what success would look like in 5 years is to definitely have chapters in throughout that entire region and start to also service like the more rural farm and ag community. Since we do have a center of agriculture director, we want to make sure we're not turning down anyone, but grow into the trades and those more ag focused.
Mm.
So our vision is to have thousands of young professionals across the state. And the reason we're so focused on that is because in local elections, it's amazing how few people vote. And so we're seeing a big turnout in our young professionals, and they're getting educated and excited and understand that the people setting these policies are those that they vote into power. And one election in 2024 was lost by 55 votes statewide. That is like mind blowing. So our own young professionals group, they could have voted for a free market candidate if they had just been in our program already. So that's part of the change that we're hoping to see is a populace of leaders that are stepping up into these community positions, business positions, and keeping them here in Washington State and invested. So that's what success would look like for us. We're on the trajectory to be gaining a lot more members even this year with that pillaring, and then just fostering that statewide community with a focus on Washington State. So we're very excited. Like I said, attendance, we've been blessed. Attendance has been up at like 50%.
Mm.
We just got the numbers in for our Bellevue event coming up. And I mean, we had, I think it was 10 new people sign up today, people I don't know, I have never met, and they just organically are starting to grow and snowball. So I think we're seeing that success, but they really are. I believe with all my heart that the future leaders of our state are coming out of young professionals out of the Washington Policy Center. So that's my plug for saying get involved and join. You'll meet some of the most amazing, interesting people that I've ever met, and so we're seeing that plan actually start to come to fruition. So
Yeah, Jillian, I would love for you to come back and share once young professionals or the policy center expands
mhm.
those areas. We would love to hear those stories.
Thank
Uh,
you.
what is happening, what is changing. Those are things that would be valuable to people here in Washington State.
Yes.
Um, we have to wrap up, but any other than the Belleville one that you mentioned, any events coming up for young professionals this year?
Yes. So please be sure to go to washingtonpolicy.org and go to the events page, and you will see that we have all of our events laid out until August. We pretty much have the whole year planned, but we do monthly events. Some of them are smaller. We have some unplugged events, which is more casual hangouts, and it's just community building. So please check that out. We do have a very big event coming up here in Spokane area on April 30th. we joined with 2 other partners, and this will be a 350 person event taking place in Spokane Valley. And I would highly encourage anyone across the state. We actually have some people from the West Side coming over to attend, and it's called the Empowering Women Awards, and it's to honor women who have supported the free market system in both nonprofit, government, and community leader. And we also have a young professional award that will be given out to a young woman who has exemplified those same traits. So that's very exciting. And yeah, just the events that we're putting on are really fun as well as educational. So it's a good mix. I like mix the business with the pleasure, right? So just definitely go there. And then if people want to find out more about us, you can go to washingtonpolicy.org and go to the About Us section, and they can read about young professionals. And obviously, please, I love people reaching out to me directly. My email is simple, jolson@washingtonpolicy.org. So it's simple.
Any socials that they can also catch your content and policy in general?
Yes. So definitely go to our YouTube channel. The Washington Policy Center has a YouTube channel there. We also have a Young Professionals YouTube channel under the Washington Policy Center. And then on Instagram and Facebook, we have WPC Young Professionals. So please be sure to check us out on those as well. Like and follow us. That's also where we post a lot of our events, so you can keep track of it there.
Awesome, Jillian. Thank you so much. This has been very informative, talking about your program as well, what's happening here in the States. So, again, we'd love to have you come back and talk about the expansion. We look forward to your success. And
Thank you.
this wraps up today's episode. For more on this type of conversations or insights, please visit our YouTube channel and Spotify at Orlando Insight Group, and our website, orlandoinsightgroup.com. Thank you so much, and see you in the next one. Bye.